Welcome to our video about ocean currents, where we will learn how bodies of water impact climate. Our objectives for this video is to help you explain what is an ocean current, understand what is the Coriolis effect. You will also identify how ocean currents impact our lives. And two new terms I'll be using throughout this video are ocean current and Coriolis effect, and we will learn more about those right away. There are many ocean currents that exist throughout the world, but we're just going to look at the major ones. And an ocean current is a large volume of water flowing in a certain direction. It's almost like a stream in the ocean. And a wind-driven current is called a surface current. The wind pushes a certain volume of water in a certain direction. And surface currents can carry warm or cold weather horizontally across the ocean's surface. So these ones are affected by wind, but there's also currents that move beneath the waves. When we talk about ocean currents, which are large volumes of water moving around in the ocean, it's hard not to talk about the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect is the movement of wind and water to the right and left caused by the Earth's rotation. So if we look right here, we see water rotating around and to the east. And below the equator, once again, we see the water moving around and to the east. So as the Earth rotates this way, it causes water to travel and curve towards the east. And this affects how ocean currents move around the world. So I've spoken kind of vaguely about what an ocean current is, but if we look at our diagram here, there are four major ocean currents. The blue arrows, right here, represent cold water, and the red ones represent warm water. So what's happening is, as water moves past the equator, the sun warms it up, and then it travels around and causes the climate in this area to become warmer. As it travels around, it reaches us in North America, where it becomes cool, and it cools our climate down. So each of these currents cause that. So warm currents and cold water currents affect weather and climate in different ways. Regions near warm water currents are often warmer and wetter than regions near cold water currents. So our weather is affected by ocean currents. And that leads us to our first shout out. What is an ocean current? You might want to pause the video for a moment or rewind and think about your answer. And if you wrote down an ocean current is the large movement of warm and cold water that affects climate, you would be correct. If you wrote something else similar to that, that is also good. Also, what is the Coriolis effect? And if you wrote the movement of ocean currents towards the east because of the Earth's rotation, you'd be correct. The Earth is turning in one direction, causing the water to turn that same way. So once again, looking at the importance of ocean currents, we can talk about the impacts of weather on and climate. The Gulf Stream, which is right over here by Florida, is a warm water current that affects coastal areas of the southwestern United States by transferring lots of thermal energy and moisture to the surrounding air. So if any of you have visited Florida before, you'll notice that it is very humid there and very warm all the time, because all that warm air is coming up all the time, being carried by that ocean current. And if you look on the other side, there's right over here, you see the cold California current, and it affects coastal areas of the United States. What happens is that warm water coming past Asia gets cooled off by the North Pole and comes back down and cools the California climate. So it's very different than Florida, even though they're fairly close geographically. So now we kind of reach our big aha moment of why ocean currents are important. Firstly, they regulate our climate. Our climate is based on the ocean currents moving around and warming or cooling the air or bringing moisture in. And they call it the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt because scientists estimate the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt model takes about 1,000 years to complete its cycle. So any water over by us in North America here can take 1,000 years to move all the way around and come back to where it started. So if we affect how much salt is in the water, or pollution, or the melting polar ice caps, within 1,000 years it can affect other people. So our climate can be changed by these ocean currents. And so they're super important to maintain their clean. It is super important to avoid pollution. So now our homework. I asked you beginning to understand how ocean currents affect our lives. So for your question to submit online is, how do ocean currents impact our lives? Think about how they affect our climate, and think about the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt and what can happen if we affect the salt level in the ocean or the amount of polar ice.